I'm Aaron Graber with Ventrac, and in this video, we're highlighting everything that we do for winter snow removal with the SSV. We're here at the first SSV example. You can see we've got a snowblower on the front of the machine, and we've actually got an operator windscreen on it as well. We have a brine kit. The only thing that this machine is missing that could also be stacked on top is a salt spreader, but we've got that highlighted on a couple others, so we'll get there a little bit later and talk about that as well. The machine itself is 34 inches wide, and every attachment that we offer for this machine fits on a 36-inch working width. What you see here is the snowblower, and this is a heavy industrial metal construction snowblower that can do a lot of work and do it fast. It's a two-stage snowblower, and you can see the heavy steel flighting in here to power through any chunky snow, even if it's icy and if it's super deep. You also have full control over the discharge with this chute. The brine kit on this machine can be used from the operator station and also in conjunction with the granular. In addition to being able to run nozzles out the back of the machine, you have a separate hand wand. You can be off the machine or standing on the platform and spray individual areas with this. The SSV, just like all the rest of our Ventrac equipment, does have access to multiple attachments and all of the snow removal specific attachments for this machine. We'll start highlighting those next, and we're gonna go to the powered broom. Here we are with the powered broom, and this is on a separate SSV machine. One common question that we get on this broom, very similar to our other power brooms, is how much snow it can handle. And this broom has an incredible amount of torque because it's a hydraulically powered broom. It can handle up to, I would say, 8 inches of snow depending on the conditions. Obviously, it matters how heavy and wet it is, whether there's ice chunks in there or not, but it does a really good job of even really demanding snowfalls in heavy, wet conditions. It's fully PTO powered, but it has its own hydraulic system. So the broom itself is hydraulically driven. You can see that motor right here, and it's inset away from the end so that it is compact design and fits within the footprint that we need. This broom runs a wafer style setup on the bristles so that those can be easily replaced and stacked in different patterns depending on how aggressive you want to be. It also has a really unique control where you have an electronic actuator that's controlled from the operator station that allows you to change the bristle speed and direction. There's a center pivot on this broom rather than being behind the broom. That way the broom doesn't swing left and right when you angle it, and it keeps it within that working pathway. The additional benefit of having multi-direction is you can totally reverse the direction of this bristle and pull it backwards. So you can go right up to a doorway or an entryway and pull snow back to you. This is an attachment that you will find in nearly every SSV fleet because it's indispensable for getting down to those delicate surfaces or on those zero tolerance accounts. And it's really the first thing that you're going to use in that snowstorm before it gets too bad and you have to start digging yourself out with blades or blowers. Speaking of blades, the next thing we're going to talk about is the VBlade on the SSV. Here we are with the VBlade, and this is an attachment that bridges the gap. This is a really unique VBlade. A couple reasons why. We've actually got some patented technology on this that is super interesting and helps it clear more effectively. So when it's a little bit too deep for the broom, but it's not quite deep enough yet to use the snowblower, the VBlade is what comes out next. You see this VBlade with an optional extension kit on both the left and right side. That extends it to a couple inches out from the wheel path of the machine. The patented part of this VBlade is that while it trips, it also translates, but just the bottom edge. So the bottom edge, when it hits an obstruction, it trips in, but the difficulty with doing a trip edge VBlade is that it hits itself and it can't fully trip or trip effectively. When this VBlade hits itself, it translates out so that it can continue to trip. So it allows you to maintain the best possible speed and the best possible snow clearing when an event like that happens. The tractor itself has the ability to move forward at 8 miles an hour and back at 6 miles an hour. That's one of the key things about this type of machine, purpose-built for snow removal, is that it's very fast. By using the VBlade, it allows you to harness that speed and not have a fear of hitting objects so hard that you have problems with coming to a complete stop on the machine or the operator slamming into the pad or anything. It helps really mute those impacts. And as everyone who works on sidewalks knows, those impacts are frequent. The next thing we want to do is look at the simpler attachment, and that is the straight blade on the next machine. Here we are at the next orientation of SSV. What we want to show on this machine is just the straight blade. So Straight blade is just like you would imagine, just a simpler version of a blade option on the SSV. This is a 54-inch that we're showing. We also do a 42-inch option. The 42-inch is the one that you're going to want to use if you're concerned about narrowing to that 36-inch walk, because when it is fully narrowed, that's the width of it. Just like the other blade and the VBlade, this is fully hydraulically controlled from the operator station. You also have down pressure and a float position, so you have all of the things necessary to properly remove snow using this blade. And if you want to get into really professional sidewalk snow removal with as little cost as possible, getting this machine without the PTO and only with a straight blade is about the best possible way you can do it. Next thing we'll highlight is a unique winter attachment that we use when conditions get really tough, and that is the snow bucket. This is the most unique snow attachment that we have on the SSV, and it's just a simple bucket. So raises and lowers, curls and dumps hydraulically, just like you would imagine a bucket on a tractor, but it's on the SSV, and you might be confused as to why, but it actually is very, very useful. Occasionally, you'll get a situation where a storm will happen and let's say a city plow truck goes past a row of mailboxes and they've got their plow down, they just shove everything right off the road and it splashes all the way over, closes up that area. And things like that happen occasionally, whether it's a big piece of equipment or a drift that the weather has provided all by itself, something where an area just gets closed up. And typically it gets icy, it gets hard to work through, and that's where the bucket comes in. I can pull off any one of these attachments and switch to this bucket in less than a minute. Have it working, clear that area, get done with it, throw it back on the trailer or in the storage unit, and continue working with all of my normal attachments. So this is really like a range extender for this machine. It lets you get through all of those areas that otherwise might stop you dead in your tracks if you're using another piece of compact snow equipment. And it really just helps enable the rest of the fleet. So super unique, a little bit different. Not every place has a use for it, but where you do, it's one of those things that keeps you working when you otherwise wouldn't be. And the next and final machine that we want to highlight in the range is all about something totally different. It's still snow removal, but we're not actually pushing any snow. So let's talk about salt spreaders. Here we are with the most valuable setup of a Ventrac SSV, and it has nothing to do with pushing snow out of the way. So this machine in this configuration is all about dropping granular salt. This stainless drop spreader is the exact same drop spreader that we run on the back of our 4520 tractor, except now we've got it on the front of an SSV. We have an adapter kit here. It's these wheels and this frame that allows this drop spreader to sit here and be used on the front of the SSV, and that really lets us use the SSV for the furthest possible distance and the most amount of bulk material. So follow me here on the math. You can use this drop spreader with 200 pounds of rock salt in it. You can fill the slide out drop spreader on the SSV with 100 pounds, and then you can put another 200 pounds of bagged salt inside this carry-all and have all of that capacity available to you to go out on a site and work nonstop. This drop spreader drops in a 40-inch drop pattern, so you can go on a little bit wider sidewalks as well, but it keeps that rock salt contained within the sidewalk and not doing any damage to turf or landscaping on the outside of it. The drop spreader that is in the middle of the SSV in between the wheels drops in a 34-inch pattern. When you're standing on this machine, you have full control of those spreaders with the electronic controls up here for the drop spreader underneath and the wireless control here for the front drop spreader. Again, just like everything else, this spreader comes off the machine in seconds, and I can take this exact same piece, and remember, I've still got the spreader in between the wheels, and I can switch to any one of these high capacity attachments. I can go do the snow removal once the snow starts to fly, and I still have capacity available for dropping granular while I do that. Super awesome piece, turns this thing into the best salt applicator that exists in the marketplace, and really rounds out the SSV fleet of equipment. That concludes the whole overview of the SSV and all of the attachments and accessories that you might use in a snow removal operation. As you can tell, we've got attachments for everything you could need, all the way from pre-treatment to heavy, heavy snow removal. The SSV is the machine that you want if you are most concerned about how fast you get the job done and how maneuverable you are while you do it. So when you're working in tight areas, especially on sidewalks, there is nothing better and more efficient than a Ventrac SSV with any one of these attachments. The biggest headache for any operator in a professional snow removal space is having enough people to do the job reliably and consistently. The SSV helps manage that, and it gives you the ability to be more functional with a smaller team of people, even if the property is massive. It makes it easier to plan your business, more certain that you'll get the job done well, and you can be sure that the clients you're working for will be happy with the end results. The SSV is truly the best dedicated snow removal piece that exists in the market today.